Transfer student experience.
The transfer student experience.
The transfer student experience.
I transferred from Santa Monica College, spent my first year studying there, and I fulfilled all the transfer requirements, and here I am. I actually started at Santa Monica College because I was a Trojan transfer plan student, so I was given the opportunity to have access to a Trojan transfer plan counselor at USC who helped me figure out like my classes and helped me with the application process.
Well, welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Are you able to talk a little bit about maybe what's a fun side project that you're doing or?
Sure. So I'm actually a violinist. So in my free time, I like to brush up on songs that I've learned in the past or try to learn new pieces. I've also started working at J. Crew in addition to Michael Kors. So I'm a sales associate there. That kind of takes up the bulk of my free time. I also cook for myself. So I try out new recipes in my free time, listen to music, go on walks.
I'm assuming you want to go down the sales route. That'd be fair to say.
I'm open to it. I'm more interested in in pursuing marketing. So, I mean, those two are obviously related. So it does help that I have a background in retail, but it honestly depends on what opportunities come my way in the future. I'm open to it.
I know you sort of touched on marketing. I was hoping you could flesh that out a little bit more. Like, what sort of career goals are you aiming towards? Is it working for a company? Is it starting your own marketing agency?
So I'm not sure if you've heard of DECA. It's sort of like the Marshall Case team at USC. I competed in sports and entertainment for multiple DECA competitions. And so that sort of inspired me to pursue entertainment marketing. Basically what I did in those competitions was I designed business plans in under 30 minutes and presented those to business professionals. And so something that I'm interested in pursuing in terms of marketing is helping either established entertainment companies or developing ones try to get the word out and try to develop their company. I just really think that the communication aspects of marketing is really exciting to me. I feel like getting the word out and networking with other people and making those connections is fun. I hope to learn more about the field and more of what I can do in marketing at Marshall, and hopefully that can give me an even better idea of what I'd like to do in the marketing field.
And so knowing that, what are you sort of hoping to accomplish at USC? Like, what are you hoping to learn from the classes here?
At USC, I'm honestly hoping to learn not only from my classes, but also learn from my peers. A little bit more about that is I feel like people who don't come from the same place as you can offer you a perspective about how you can approach certain fields and offer you perspectives on different fields that can influence you to pursue them. So, I mean, if you know someone who's interested in finance and finance isn't really your thing, I mean, knowing them and talking to them about it might change your mind. In that sense, what I'm trying to say is by meeting new people at USC, I'm trying to expand my interests and try not to box myself in to one field of business. So I'm just trying to soak up all the information that I can get from everyone around me.
What was the most difficult part of ramping up as a transfer?
So the most difficult part about transferring to USC was figuring out what the requirements were, to be honest. One example would be the math requirement for Marshall. There was a little bit of confusion as to which math class it was because at USC it's called Math 118. But at Santa Monica College, people were confused about whether or not that was Math 28 or Math 29. And people at USC were giving different answers, and it was like going back and forth. I think that speaking to a wide range of people to gauge what the right answer would be was definitely a challenge.
You've obviously had experience of college life pre-COVID.
Yes.
What's one thing that you missed before the zombie apocalypse?
I feel like I got a lot more exercise when I was on campus. I mean, you don't really realize it when you're in the moment, but walking from class to class, that sort of exercise can really boost your mood throughout the day and keep you going and keep you motivated. I miss being able to be outside and be motivated by people in person because being indoors can be a little draining for so long.
Yeah, you definitely get cabin fever.
Yes.
And I think we sort of have to be more, I guess, proactive in scheduling in some walks in our day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because it's very, I mean, especially being on campus, like you said, you're walking to and from classes, so you get your steps in. naturally.
Exactly. A little bit of steps goes a long way.
And so sometimes when we transferred, I know definitely for me, it took me a while to just sort of get acclimated, but finding resources was really tough.
Yes.
As well as finding friends and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, definitely.
And I know that the university sometimes doesn't do the best in communicating what's out there.
Absolutely.
Likewise with student organizations. So what communication challenges did you face at USC? And what would you wish that TSC as a student organization that helps transfers could do better?
As a transfer student, I didn't and I still don't really know all of the opportunities that USC has to offer. Part of why I was so excited about transferring to USC was because I was excited about getting involved, because the culture at a four-year university is a lot different than from a community college, especially because most people are living on campus at USC, while at a community college is a commuter campus. So people are a lot more involved at USC campus. So I was excited to get involved, and something that I wish that TSC would do better is providing more information on clubs or organizations or opportunities at USC that students can get involved in and how they can get involved as well. Because that's something that I personally am challenged with. I know that USC usually has like a club day or something like that where students can walk around this fair, and I think there are like booths. USC has a lot of those kinds of information sessions where information is easily accessible to you when you're in person. But now when we're online, students are faced with the challenge of finding that information for themselves and being more proactive. And on one hand, it can be a good thing to make sure that students who are joining organizations are more inclined to be involved since they worked harder to join and find out that information. But it inhibits students from more easily accessing those opportunities. I think having a filter is really important because, I mean, there are so many opportunities, and I'm sure that they're all so different from each other, that having a filter can help a student sort through all the different kind of opportunities that there are to kind of pinpoint the specific kinds of organizations that they want to be a part of.
And not to put you too much on the spot here, we all have a sense of what our natural talents are and our natural abilities and sort of our unique edge. If you're sitting down with a company and you're being interviewed and they hit you with what makes you different?
Well, what makes me different right now is that I'm put at a disadvantage being online for my first and only semester at USC. So succeeding at Marshall with limited access to those resources that can help students succeed in classes and get involved, I think that makes me a stronger applicant. I'm learning how to succeed without all those resources right now. I definitely hope to be more involved as soon as school opens up. And I'm definitely trying to be more involved right now, even though we are online. But of course, as I mentioned before, that can be a little bit more difficult.
Your work ethic is...
My work ethic has developed in this time, exactly.
What did you feel made you stand out in the application, or what's a point that you drove in your essays?
As I mentioned, I'm a Trojan Transfer Plan student, which means that I applied to USC out of high school before I applied to transfer. And so I initially actually applied under political science in Dornsife. USC offered me a transfer plan. And so something that I mentioned in my essays and I really drove home is that throughout high school, I spread myself a little too thin throughout many extracurricular activities, which didn't allow me to effectively explore those interests. And so being at community college gave me that extra year to reflect on my past commitments and to study subjects pertaining to the business field. And so that gave me a clearer idea of what I wanted to do and why I wanted to pursue business administration the second time that I applied. So yeah, I think that extra year gave me the time to better figure out what I was really interested in.
What value do you see in being a transfer student? What in your journey thus far in applying and going through what you've gone through could you take with you into the future?
I feel like when you come into USC as a first-year student, you think like, oh, I have all these 4 years to get involved in figuring it out. Like, I'll just take this first year to get acclimated to my workload, and then I'll get involved. But as a transfer student, I'm a little bit more antsy to get involved because I've already had that first year at community college outside of USC. So I'm definitely more determined to immerse myself in USC culture, and this pandemic is ruining that. But I definitely hope to be more involved in TSC and other organizations like the Marshall Case Team. So I think that being a transfer student gives me that extra motivation to be involved earlier. Like I said, I've been working towards this goal for the past year at community college, and now that I'm finally here, it's like, all right, I have to get my feet on the ground running. I think that keeping motivated with more goals in the future can help you keep running. I feel like you're never actually there. In other words, I feel like transfer students are always telling themselves, okay, once I get into a four-year university, I'll be happy, I'll be there, I'll feel fulfilled. And of course, it is a big accomplishment to be able to say that you transferred to USC. But on the other hand, the grind never stops. There's always something else that you should push yourself for and pursue. The journey's not over yet.
If you could go back in time and give a younger Benjamin one tip, what would you say to him?
I would tell him to manage his time a little bit better. So, like I said before, I was part of a little too many extracurricular activities, so I didn't fully experience any one activity thoroughly enough to choose a major that I was passionate about in high school. And I think that a lot of students think that they need to have it all figured out by the time that they are graduating high school, as if that's some sort of deadline that you need to know what you want to do, where you want to go, how you're going to get there when you're 18 years old. And if I could go back in time and tell my high school self a piece of advice, I would tell them that you don't have to have it all figured out right then and there. I mean, community college was a great resource for me to have that extra time. Community college is okay. I'd just like to say that I know that it can be really difficult for everyone to stay motivated while we're at home. And I know a lot of people are joining class Zooms in their beds or doing homework at 1 a.m. and then passing out and waking up at 8:30 for their next Zoom class. I definitely would like to add that it's really important to effectively manage your time, especially during this pandemic, so that we can stay on top of our commitments and stay motivated to succeed until we can hopefully go back to campus in the spring.
Thank you so much for taking the time and talking with me today.
Thank you so much, Will, for having me.
The transfer student
Transfer student
experience.
experience. The transfer student experience.